second is the transition team, or lack thereof, since January, the 3rd, January the 7th. The third is this question of subcommittees that were formed by both the mayor and by the new council majority. And then planning board is another item that I'll speak to, and then I'll have some general comments, substantive comments. I am chairman of the planning board as we speak, for those that don't know, and I have been involved since June of 2017, so it's over 2 years since Normandy first came before the planning board seeking approvals. So, speaking to process, an MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, was signed, it appears, in April of this year. The only reason why the public, including me, even knew about it was because there were filings posted with the e-courts on the internet website that the courts maintain. So a resident actually stumbled upon these filings by the attorneys back and forth that talked about an MOU that was signed. So there's an issue there. Since April, it took 2 months before that there was going to be, obviously, no opportunity for the public to even speak about this MOU before it was entered into. And I understand its confidentiality. I worked with the professionals. I know how that works. But when that MOU was executed, at that time, this council and the subcommittee had a responsibility to come to the public and say, hey, here's where we are, and here's why. We're doing it now, at the last minute, where it appears that everything is pretty much done except signing a settlement agreement, right? I could be off slightly by that, but not by much. And there's a correspondence back and forth to the judge that confirms that.
Can I just respond to that? The way this thing has been structured, nothing is done. We were very careful to preserve the public's right to participate.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing.
Are you kidding?
Nothing is.
Are you kidding, Jeff? Jeff, you're kidding, right?
My point is...
Nothing is binding
Right.
until such time as there's a vote.
Understood.
And everything was carefully structured so that the public would have an opportunity to be heard before anything was signed off.
Well, actually, not only did he cut the public out, he cut out the council. Because the subcommittee, through their lawyer, signed the MOU. They didn't bring it to the mayor or to the council. What's up with that, Jeff?
So, I understand
It's a sham,
the
everyone.
confidentiality, but once that MOU was signed, there was a responsibility to come to the public and say, hey, here's where we are. Let's start talking about it now. Not wait 2 months, and maybe even it would have been even longer, unless that a resident stumbled upon the fact that an MOU was actually signed off on. It's not right, and I can't be convinced by anyone that it was right. So if I may move on, please. Number 2 is a transition team. I've gotten up at public meetings almost every month saying, why? Why would you not let the 2 people that spent a year, for me 18 months, for Carol McMorrow 12 months, at least have one meeting? It could have been 30 minutes and it could have been over with. You probably would have disagreed with our strategy, where we were going, so be it. But why was there not one meeting arranged by this committee, by this council? Now, there were 2 subcommittees created. One by Mayor Kranjak, where I was appointed as an ad hoc committee, and then there was a second committee created by this governing body in January. I think it was the end of January this year. I was a member of both of those. So the public knows I was not invited to one conference call or one meeting since January 7th. Okay, so
Join the club.
anybody can say whatever they want. There was no excuse for that. We should be all on the same team. I got up at a reorganization meeting in 2018 and said, hey, this is a big deal. We need to be on the same team here. Let's move forward. It didn't happen. You had nothing to lose, but everything to gain to at least hear what the strategy of the 2, I'm going to use the word principles, to separate the professionals from those that were representing the borough. With all due respect to the professionals, this case goes away. Whether it's settled or tried, they move on to their other cases. and that's fine. We, the residents, and those that participated in these proceedings for a year and a half, have a slightly different perspective maybe, right? And it would have been good to hear from us. You don't even know if we shared every element of our strategy with the professionals. You don't even know that. So I'm standing here as a member of the public, knowing less than, or no more than any member of the public. That's not right. As a member of the planning board, I have real estate experience. I've been a developer my entire life. I speak this language. I understand. I understand the process. And I know that what Debbie has gone through in the past, since January. It's being thrown into the fire. I get that, all right? And the other members of the subcommittee. But you didn't do it right vis-a-vis the folks that spent a year working on this. There could have been a transition. You could have said, you're crazy, we disagree. We would have moved on, and we would have ended it. That's the point I want to make. About the planning board. I've taken, and the planning board has taken criticism now for, I guess, around 2 years. Almost not quite 2 years, a year and a half, let's say. And I've always had to measure my words carefully because this matter is still in litigation. It's still painful to hear city council people attack the planning board and try to lay the blame for the affordable housing issue on the planning board. It's silly. It's nothing more than silly. For those that were involved from the beginning, and those that know all the facts, have stood up and said, thank you. And we should be on the same team here, okay? I'm an appointed official, you're elected officials. For sitting council people to say it's the planning board's fault, it's outrageous and nothing less than outrageous. The applicant came in for a commercial redevelopment. They asked for many things. And I'm going to measure my words here, but I want to get a couple of points out. During those hearings, it was 4 nights over a period of 4 months. There's give and take, where applicant puts forth a plan, we give our suggestions, they accommodate some of them, we go back and forth. That's the way the process works and the way it should work. One of the demands that the planning board had was, hey, you know, we have an issue with the subdivision, right? And they refused to yield to our suggestion to change that subdivision, right? Because 270 cars were proposed to be located on someone else's property in the future. That's not the way it works, right? So anybody can say that, yes, the planning board's fault. It was up to the applicant to either say, you know what? Obviously, they don't like the idea of a subdivision. We'll move the subdivision line, or we'll do something else. They decided to do that. They called for a vote, and we voted. Okay? No one can sit here tonight with any facts and say, Normandy wouldn't be here as they are today, regardless of whether the planning board approved or denied. There's evidence out there. The mayor spoke to it. I'm not going to repeat it. And there's even more than he spoke to. Okay? It's there. I'm not going to speak about it tonight because it's in litigation. You folks don't even know it. Okay, if you came to me in closed session and say, hey, I'd like to hear what you've got to say, you would know about it now. But I'm not going to give it to you at this point, in public. So I defend the planning board, its members, for the relentless criticism it has taken, including by elected officials sitting here tonight. One thing that was glossed over here, I think, on some level, was the right to cure. We were told time and time again that the borough should have the right to cure any deficiency. So if 77 is not right, and it's 100, or it's 120, or it's 80. Judge Farrington, in one of her rulings on motions, actually said, the words were, borough, you have the right to cure. Those are Judge Farrington's words. So although there may be some reticence, and it's not an ironclad guarantee, that's the way the process is supposed to work, right? So this process could go on for, my understanding was, if you went for a 100% affordable project, it could go on for a period of at least 2 years, because these tax credits have to be applied for. And I think you get 2 cycles, Mr. Mistrani, you get at least 2 cycles, right, when it's done annually, to try to qualify for those tax credits. Mr. Powell, your report that was included in our multiple housing plan spoke very highly about our odds of getting the 9% tax credits. We scored actually a perfect score, right? And that's the fact. I got a phone call yesterday from a stranger, called my business office and said, I understand you're involved in Englewood Cliffs. I'm a developer. I'd like to talk to you about qualifying for this 100% affordable housing project. I don't know how he got my number. I said, listen, you should come to the meeting here tonight and propose it. He was salivating over the possibility of coming into Englewood Cliffs to build a 100% affordable project. So I think what hasn't really been stressed tonight is if we were able to get the 9% tax credit, whether it's for 57 units or 100 units, the cost to the borough of building those units is zero.
After the meeting, please provide us with the name and we'll try to reach out.
Zero. All right, you get 2 cycles. 2 years go by. Does Normandy want to wait another 2 or 3 years in the process? That's a decision they'd have to make. Would they possibly say, hey, maybe we should go back to offices? I'm a realtor. I'm a developer. Word is out on the street that they indeed have been marketing that property all along. There's even word out there was people interested in that property, okay? Realtors talk. So I have to say this in public. I shouldn't have to. I'm putting it out there. You need to think about that. Because just think for a second, if you continue to litigate for 2 years, and we spent another couple $100,000, and if Normandy decide, you know what, we're done waiting, our investors, they have investors, I think it's 95% of the project is outside investors, and they have, I think it's 10%, it's public knowledge. What happens then to the numbers? Didn't the whole problem go away? The 20 acres, the 15 acres, whatever it might be? Now we're left with 15, 20, 25 units that we have to create in a heartbeat. So when you think about strategy, you should at least be thinking about that. I won't ask the professionals, you've been put on the spot, I won't ask you to answer this, but I'll make the statement. It's clear to me, as a person who was involved in this for 2 years, that there was a transition here, a pivot, that happened on January 3rd, right? Attorneys have to do what their clients tell them. That's the way it works. This council, majority, decided when they came into office, they were going to surrender the town and sell this case. They have to do their job. They were told they were going to do it. If this council majority did not take control in January, this meeting would be very different. They would be supporting the plan that was put forth in January, which I still advocate for.
With all due respect, Mr. Perino, I have to make a comment, Mr.
I
Perino.
don't want to be interrupted.
Mr. Perino?
After I'm finished.
Mr. Perino, your time is up. Your time is up.
Give another resident time to speak, please.
Let him finish.
I'm chairman of the planning board, please hear me out.
I think your time's up and it's past midnight. I think all the people.
Councilwoman O, you got here at 8 o'clock. We've been here since 6:30, so just give him a minute.
My last comment is, the presentation made tonight talked about worst case scenarios, right? With 200 units being recommended by one party, by Fair Share, and hundreds by Adrian Sylvan. It was quite clear during the entire process that the only number that ever counted was the number put forth by the special master, right? Just because your adversary throws a number out of left field that's 2 or 3 times what is reasonable is not what should be just presented here tonight. It's the special master's number, that's the number that would count. We don't know what it is, agreed. But to suggest that we're afraid because it could be 400 units or 300 units, I mean, that's downright silly for someone who was involved in from the beginning. Okay, so that's pretty much what I have, and if anybody wants to comment, please do.
So I actually want to thank Mr. Perino for doing such a great job of chairing the planning board, and for all his help. Thank you very much.
I'd like to make one comment.
Look, let me just finish, Jeff. When well-seasoned professionals who have been doing something for maybe too long make things worse, we suffer. And this council, through Wunsch directing these professionals, did a pivot that makes no sense for any of us. Okay? And when things don't follow the path of logic in New Jersey, you have to look behind, peel those layers of the onion back, see what Gordon Johnson, Loretta Weinberg, you know, these people in the state legislature, what are they telling these people to do that's going to hurt you? Because this doesn't just happen, okay? Sir, we have a rule, one time up, that's it. Yes, sir.
I just wanted to make one comment. There is a great deal of risk in litigation.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
There's a lot of risk in litigation.
It's
and
fine.
What happens is you submit your reports, we got their reports in January, and now you're in the position of
We get
assessing where is this going?
we get different experts.
Where is this going? Where do you think the master's going to land?
It's fine.
And a lot of the analysis that goes into here is we were at very high risk.
It's okay.
We had an aggressive plan, but we had a lot of risk. Settlement's about managing risk.
No, it's okay.
Yes, sir.
We want the rest.
My name is Ram
We
Tiwari.
are ready to take the risk.
We
My
want
name is
the
Ram
rest.
Tiwari. I've been a resident of Englewood Cliffs since 1981. To me, it seems as a layperson that our elected council people have surrendered or willing to surrender very easily towards the developers. Yeah, they have surrendered or they are willing to surrender easily towards the Normandy developer. To my lay mind, 400 houses or 800 houses are much worse than 75 or 57 affordable housing. We all are willing to have affordable housing, but we do not want excess housing in Englewood Cliffs. Englewood Cliffs is a small town, and it is a good town, and we don't want to mess it up. By signing the deal with the Normandy, I do not know why the elected officials have done this or willing to do this. I'm sure we should have a subcommittee of the residents who can elect a attorney who can fight the case.
Yes. Yes. And new experts.
Yeah, and we put forward the money. We want a new expert.
Yes.
Well, our experts are pretty knowledgeable,
Yes.
but I think they have given up or they are willing to throw the towel very easily.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Sir, just for our record, what is your address?
90 Roberts Road.
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else? Yes.
Maria Valari, 45 Jane Drive. I've been living in Englewood Cliffs since 1988, and most of that time, the governing body was the Parisi regime, his father and the son. And all those years, I heard, oh, we're kicking it down the road. We're never going to have affordable housing in this town. Well, you know what? Maybe we need to hold those people accountable for having us be in this position today. Because, you know, Miss Fair got up and was very angry. Well, I'm very angry at Miss Fair and Mr. Moans and Chief Chaffee and all the people that were involved in this administration that basically didn't stand up for the rest of the town. We are a community. It doesn't matter whether you're a Democrat or Republican, we are a community. And we deserve to have a right to say what we want to say without interruption from the people that are elected, who should be respectful to the people that get up and spend, what time is it? All this time here to express our feelings as to what we want for our town.
Yes.
Okay? And let me tell you something, Mr. Serenian. Attorneys settle. That's all attorneys do today. Attorneys used to fight. They don't fight anymore. And I understand how that works. You intimidate your clients by saying, oh, you know, if we go to court, the judge may rule against you. You know, settle for the $20,000, settle for the $40,000, but maybe that person would have gotten $1 million if they had had an attorney who stood up for that person.
Yes.
So I don't like the fact that you're standing there and telling us that we should settle. I don't know if you all got the message. Elected officials, attorneys, whoever's sitting out there, who's ever sitting out and back there, we want to fight this.
Yes.
We want to fight it. We do
100%.
not want to acquiesce
We don't need you.
to some thought of what might happen. Why would this board immediately settle everything? Why did they drop everything? People need to ask themselves, what is it that they are protecting to settle this case?
Heda.
Normandy
For the head.
is a developer. He doesn't care about affordable housing. He cares about the bottom line, ladies and gentlemen. And you are handing it to them on a silver platter, and your town people don't want it. Shame on you.
Yes.
Shame on all you elected officials that are going to throw this town down the... I'm not going to say what I was going to say. I really feel, listen, I'd rather take my chance with a judge.
Yes.
I think
Yes.
Judge Farrington is a decent person. I think she's made some decent decisions out there. Well, who's benefiting from this? Who is benefiting? Not just Normandy. There's other people that are benefiting from this. Okay? They sit quietly outside. They sit quietly outside. You understand that? And we know it.
They're all on the
And I don't
table.
like the fact that you try to convince these decent people that have
Yes.
come out to stand up for what's right for their town
And for our children.
and our children. I want to see this. Are you voting tonight? I have a question. Is there a vote tonight on this? I hope not.
Not that I know of.
Because I want the people of this town to be involved in this process.
Yes.
I think people need to be notified by letter, by you people, telling them, we're meeting for this. This is where we are. This is where the attorneys are. Oh, and it's for experts. I'm so sorry. All you need to
We
do
should
is
stop their
watch the
fees.
court TV and see that this expert says, oh, no, that's not possible. And this expert says, oh, yes, it is possible. We understand experts. Experts get paid to go along with what they want.
Normandy pays them right now.
Okay? And that's, we could, all I heard was, we didn't give one unit. We didn't give one unit. But why didn't we give one unit? Why
Democrats.
didn't we build that one unit? Because the previous administration didn't care to build that one unit. And now we're suffering the consequences of that. I want to fight this, I want to go to court, and I want to be present in court, and Judge Farrington should hear from the residents of this town, not just the
We are all
attorneys
ready.
and the experts.
We are ready to go to
Okay?
the court.
They don't care about our school system, really? They don't care about, this is a bedroom community, ladies and gentlemen. This is not a city. We don't have a library. We don't have a community center. We don't have a high school. We have 2 little fields that the kids play on. Where are we putting all these people? And by the way, I just want to say, Ms. Park, you really think that a 1-bedroom doesn't house a child? You must be very privileged. You must be very privileged, Ms. Park, because I would like for you to go check out all the apartments and how many children are in those apartments.
And the affordable housing apartments. The market apartments will be market value. That could be $3,000, $5,000, whatever it is, it's gonna be market value. Do you think those people that are moving there and paying market value are the type of people that would house a child?
Yes.
affordable housing in our town. I do not want that company
Yes.
to build 600
Yes.
units and
Yes.
millions of dollars, Ms. Clark.
Yes.
Millions of dollars.
Bill 800 out of court. And now they're on you, Ms. Valori.
It's okay.
So all I ever wanted in life was a council to work with and professionals will fight for us. And I didn't get
That's
those.
all we
I'll
want.
fight for you.
That's all this town wants, gentlemen.
Yes.
For you to fight for us. Because we are the taxpayers. Our children live in this town. We love this town. We don't want to change the face of this town.
They're fighting for Normandy.
Shame on you.
Shame on them. They're fighting for Normandy.
Happy birthday, Don.
I grew up in a two-bedroom apartment
Hey,
in
everybody,
Flushing
it's done.
all my life. I had to share a bedroom with my sister until I went to college at 18. Don't you tell me how to stop.
Well, this is Don Yee. It's his birthday today, so on the count of three. Happy birthday, Don. Happy birthday. 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday, Don.
Yesterday or today?
It's all right. Yesterday. It's all right. Close it. Or 12:30. I didn't. Oh yeah.
But, yeah, my birthday.
All right.
Yesterday.
Happy birthday.
Great way to spend it. First of all, thank you for holding this today. It was very informative. But my main question here is, you have heard a lot from the residents. It's pretty loud and clear what the residents want. They want to fight this. Okay? So I'm looking at the council members, and the professionals. I'm reading your body language, their facial expressions, their attitude, their lack of openness in terms of listening to what the residents are saying. I want to know what's next steps.
We're gonna have to assess the meeting that was sent today.
We don't want to
Then what?
settle.
Then we'll decide. There's no decision was made.
Who's
No.
deciding?
We
I
don't
want to
trust
know
you.
who's deciding.
We don't trust you. The town needs to vote. The town needs to vote on settlement. Not you, the
All
council
right. Hold on,
members.
everybody.
I
No
understand
yelling out
everybody's
loud.
passion, but if you can let us have
Let,
a conversation.
Mr. Serendian, you could answer that question. What happens next?
What's next step?
The town's gonna have to make a decision. It's gonna settle or it's not gonna settle.
Not settle.
But we all heard.
Everybody's saying not settle.
Want to settle.
No settle.
So here's the way it works. The council, somebody will make a motion to do something like settle, crazy as it sounds. Perhaps they won't do it today. And perhaps they won't do it based on what everybody said from the public, because there was a resounding rejection of what they proposed. There was only,
Yes.
and I asked for a show of hands, who wants residential housing at 800 Sylvan? It was one person who raised his hand, okay? And we had about 300 people in here, I think, tonight. So I hope this council takes that back. Don't sleep on it. Stay awake all night and look at what you've done, okay? And think about it and figure out a better path. I'm hoping to have a better plan for you, and perhaps, you know, a little bit more of a fight for our towns.
Should we do a referendum?
You can't
Yes.
do a referendum. It's not California. There's no referendums. You don't want to be in California
No, the
either.
town should do a committee.
Anybody else? You were, what's she doing back here? She got thrown out. Well, look, you were escorted out, so, anybody else? Yes, sir.
No one wants to
You
hear
would
it.
know the truth if it hit you.
No one
in
wants
the
to hear
face.
it.
Officer
You wanna sell the
She was
town.
out. She had 3 strikes. She was out.
She wants to sell the
Good
town.
evening, Bruce Corrin,
She should have been out. She
72
was out.
Burn Street.
Shouting from the back.
No, he doesn't run a meeting.
She should leave the meeting. I do.
Corrin.
Wait, no, actually.